On the meeting order? Yeah. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Key,
Present.
Commissioner Armstrong, Commissioner Darden,
Here.
Commissioner Harris,
Here.
Commissioner Harvey,
Here.
Commissioner House,
Here.
Commissioner Todd.
Here. All right, if you would, please stand. Mr. Connor, if you would give us the invocation, please, sir.
Yes, sir. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Mr. Ellis, will you lead us in the pledge, please, sir?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. We'll get started with our agenda. First item is reading approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of October the 1st and the call meetings of October the 15th and the 25th. I entertain a motion for the approval of those minutes. Motion by Commissioner Darden. Have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Todd. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Darden,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris,
Yes.
Commissioner Todd,
Yes.
Commissioner House,
Yes.
Commissioner Harvey.
Yes. Thank you. First item on the agenda, Mr. Harry, rezoning, 150 Henson Mosley Road.
Yes, Mr. Bamberg request to rezone 150 Henson Mosley Road from R1 to R4. I handed out a map shows you about the location of it. I went through the zoning board and all the zoning board members approved it.
All righty. Council, you saw the, Mr. Harry provided us with a map of the rezoning. Did that rezoning cover any further type of expansion, anything in that territory, in that zone?
Does it?
If he decides to do anything else in there commercially?
Yeah, I mean, if he does it within that 10 acres,
Okay.
he plans on, what he's planning on doing is going to take care of the 10 acres.
Okay, all right. Okay.
This is where he's already cleared the land?
Yes, sir.
All right. Any other discussion?
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
what are they, just for my information, what are they gonna do in there? I know it's a retirement type thing.
If you'll explain to him what it is.
Yeah.
This is Mr. Bamberg, Jerry.
Jerry Bamberg. We, J&G Developers, managing partner, looking at putting in a 48-room assisted living facility. It's 16 rooms of, for like mental patients, for Alzheimer's. It's 32 rooms of assisted living. That'll be the first phase. Something very nice, something real nice facility, something that's Wayne County be proud of.
So, say that again, 16,
It's called memory care. It's just for memory care patients, like the onset of Alzheimer's and
so there'd
dementia.
be a nurse assistant?
Yes, sir. All of it's nurse assistant.
Oh, okay. And so how do you get a room there? How do you get an apartment there? What would be the process?
It's a room, we're gonna hire the top two people to manage it, administrator and assistant. They'll go to Cochrane to another facility to train for several weeks, then come back here and they'll do the hiring of their nursing staff and take it from there. You just contact the administrator. She'll handle all the details of everything.
Jerry, is this sort of like the coastal something over in Louisiana, that one on the right? What's that called, coastal?
I think that's more like a nursing home.
Oh,
This
It is, they got Alzheimer's unit there.
Yeah, they got
Right.
it, yeah, because that's
Yeah.
what Carol's
Yeah,
over
this, it's not a nursing home, this
Okay.
is just assisted living,
Okay.
memory care. We plan on adding on the back 5 acres like apartments for independent living. That'd be in the next phase.
Okay. Any,
R4 goes between the two R1s, is that?
Well, we've done that before, it's a large tract of land, it's not a small tract, so it would fit.
Be all right.
those tracts of land, the one on the right is the ball field, Bill Marsh Park, and the one on the left is the property that, is a big field that the Industrial Development Authority, or somebody looking at. All right, have any concerns or questions from the audience concerning this? Okay, I entertain a motion from the council.
Move to approve.
Got a motion by Commissioner Todd, have a second? Second by Commissioner Harris. Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Darden,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris,
Yes.
Commissioner Todd,
Yes.
Commissioner House,
Yes.
Commissioner Harvey.
Yes.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you, Don. Thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda, request for lighting on LC Cogdale and James Johnson connections. Mr. Tyrone Johnson.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening. How you doing?
And council, very much doing well. Thank you for this opportunity. We'll make this quick. I came before you tonight with a concern, and that is the concern of lighting on the LC Cogdale Road as well as the James E. Johnson connector. As you know, these streets are relatively new streets to the city in the sense that the James E. Johnson Road was opened 8 years ago today. At the time, my mother was 75. Today, she's 83. So it's been 8 years ago since the road was opened. And actually, 2 years ago, on October 31st, the LC Cogdale Road, as you know, was open. I know many of you were there for that. I know 8 years ago, Commissioner Darden recommended to the council that both sidewalks and lights be placed on the James E. Johnson connector. At that time, I know that Commissioner House as well as Commissioner Harris were also on the council at the time in January of 2012 when the conversation was had. And I know I spoke with Commissioner Darden. I know he's brought it up to your attention probably on several times since that time. We're very concerned about the fact that there's no lighting on that road. If you analyze here in the city of Jesup, we've got 10 streets that run from east to from north, starting from the southern part of the city at Tata Street, going north to the connector. Between 4th and 1st Street, starting from the shortest street, which is Tata Street, and the longest street, which is actually James E. Johnson connector because it curves and it's an incline. It's the longest street of the 10. But we've got 10 streets that run across the city of Jesup. On Tata Street, we have at least 3 street lights on that street. And actually, for your absorption, I'll also pass this out to you if I might, which is just a little data that's collected on each of those streets.
Thank you.
All right. And get to it quick as well. And anyone else in the audience that might want to have this. All right. I'll let you all pass it off.
Okay.
From here. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So going across the city of Jesup, the Tata Street has 3 lights. Old Scriven has 3. Bay Street has 5. Orange Street has 6. Plum Street has 5. Cherry Street has 8. Walnut 5. Pine Street 6. Poplar 5. And the James E. Johnson connector does not have a street light on it. Now, it is illumined on one end by virtue of the fact that you have the businesses that are there. But we've collected, and we will submit tonight, nearly 800 signatures of support of the effort to have lights placed on that street. We waited now for 8 years. And if I could somewhat capture my conversation between 2 sitcoms, I would place it between one sitcom that came out in 1969 through 2001, which is Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, where he says, "Won't you be my neighbor?" The other is one that simply ran from 1977 to 1981, and it was a series that simply said 8 is enough. And in that series, it was referring to raising 8 kids was more than enough. But I come this evening on behalf of the community to say that we've waited 8 years now, and we think that 8 years is more than sufficient time for the city to have taken some action on this. So we come tonight requesting that the city will take positive steps to make that happen, and that you will give a timeline to the community as to when that would happen. I also asked Commissioner Thomas, Boo Thomas, if he would make contact for me with Georgia Power, which he did do. I spoke with Mr. Volsky, head of Georgia Power. He said it takes less than $5,000 to run lights down that street. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but he said roughly between $3,500 and $5,000 should cost no more than that to run lights down that street. I do know that that's a curved street. It's the only curved street out of the 10. It's a steep street. Certainly near Resurrection Church on 4th Street, it's total darkness there. A lot of citizens are avoiding going down the street after 6 p.m. in the evening because it's pitch dark. And it's also not safe for folks that walk down that street. I've had a few occurrences where I've turned in on that street and people are walking right in the middle of the road. So we just come tonight to say that we feel as though it's been sufficient time, and we hope that the commission will consider what Commissioner Darden has already recommended, and that you all would take direct action to make sure that that happens and that it happens soon. And I certainly would like to see it happen while my mother's still here. All right. If you have any questions.
Any questions from the council? Mr. Johnson, have you contacted the county? That's the county road. That's the county road. The county put that road in. They didn't.
It was a
They
joint.
didn't allow for the street lights, I don't think.
Okay, I'm told it's a joint effort between the county and the city. I know.
No, I don't think that's correct. Commissioner Steele?
J.D. Johnson wasn't a joint effort between the county and the city.
Cogdale Road wasn't, but
Cogdale was straight county, we spent all the funds out of tier, but still, it opened up the way to, it cleared up the congestion at the traffic light there on 84 and J.D. Johnson. Got a lot of people to go the other way, or go to the dollar store, or to Zaxby's, or whatever. So it's a very used street.
and I also recall.
So has the county looked at putting lights in it?
No, we don't look at putting lights on. We paid all the money for Cogdale Road.
Yeah. You told me that J.D. Johnson was the county road?
Do we have any money in J.D.?
Well, the city built it, I
City
don't
built
know who
it, yeah.
paid for it.
Yeah, and I recall, because this,
That's not told.
it's a city road. I also know that my father specifically, it was his brainchild, one of the last projects he worked on as a member of this council. And his main concern was that there were citizens in our area, specifically, difficulty turning off of Poplar Street going toward Walmart. We know that's the business. Walmart is our Grand Central Station in Jesup, right? And so it's very dangerous turning off Poplar onto First. And I know that there was a negotiation between buying the land that the city needed at that time in order to make that road, to successfully get that road completed. But I do know that based on my knowledge, it is a city road, and I think that's what the records probably reflected. It is a city road.
Okay.
What year was it built?
It was built in 2011. So most of 2011 was when it was built, but it was officially opened on November 5th of 2011.
There's not a necessity to have any lights on the Cogdale. If you put a light around to the back, the lights from the road ought to go, you ought to be able to see it, just goes right back behind Zaxby's.
Sure. What we're recommending is that where, and certainly the engineers would know better, but at the intersection of Cogdale and Johnson, that there needed to be a light there. Because if one comes along that route, Cogdale, and be someone from out of town who's not familiar with that road, and happens not to see traveling at a rate of speed, because there are no speed signs back there either, coming along there and not see that stop sign, that person's gonna end up in the woods.
So now you want one there and one where else?
One should be at the intersection of 4th, turning in on that street, 4th in the connector. So 4th in the connector, and where in the curb where both Cogdale and Johnson intersect.
But not anywhere.
Not closer to the private lights are already illuminating the
Walmart thing?
Waffle House and all that sort of handles that in. It's the far end from 4th turning in and coming into that curb where it is just pitch dark in there completely. And I would encourage all of you after 6 o'clock at night to take a drive through there, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Am I right, folks?
So let's see if we can, it's not all the way at the intersection, or you want one at the intersection?
Yeah, one at the intersection where you turn in onto, because it's dark there, right where you turn in near, after you pass Resurrection Church and turn into where the connector begins at 4th and 4th and James E. Johnson. There needs to be a light there, and then there needs to be one further in the curve itself. Yeah, where the two meet. Yeah, so.
Now, do we have any poles there?
Mr. Johnson.
Yes, sir.
There was a light there at the corner of Fourth and L.C. Cocktail, right past Resurrection. There was a light there on the left-hand side, same side of the street that Resurrection is located on.
Okay, there's a street
There's
light.
a light there. Somebody moved it.
I think there's a light near, I think I saw more, yeah, I think there's a light closer to his church, closer, that street light that sits somewhere near your church. I think there's one that's sort of, I don't know if it's a private light or a city light, but it's close on 4th Street. Are you aware?
It's right past the church.
Right past the church. So past the church, there's a light, past your church, there's one light there. Right, but the beyond his church and turning into that, turning onto that road, it is pitch dark in there. Absolutely pitch dark in there.
So we'd have to put poles up and run power.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
the city had a grant from DOT to build James E. Johnson.
Okay.
And we had, I think we ended up with a small amount of SPOS to cover a little bit overage on it.
Thank you, sir.
I have actually come through there, and it is there.
So I'm sorry, Sam.
That's okay.
Mr. Collins.
I do sympathize with that idea that it's dark in there. Been through there before.
And we do very much appreciate what the city has done. It's just a proactive measure from our standpoint. The citizens have been really on about getting some lights down that road.
May I ask Mr. Volsky, is his numbers right?
Well,
Oh,
I think the fella that actually gave the numbers is a guy named Scott McCarthy, works for our lighting group. And so I'd have to talk to him about that. I'm not much of the number guy on that.
Can we get some numbers?
We sure can.
I mean, if it's that, I don't see why, I don't see a problem.
We
But is
can
it
get that.
$5,000 a light, or is it $5,000
No,
total?
I say no. Let me find out from Scott and I'll get your numbers,
Okay.
by the end of this week. if
You
you
got
want.
to have the light, the wire, and the poles.
The problem is, I should say, the challenge is there's no poles or no wires going down through that road. So as a result, there's cost associated with going
Right.
down that road.
What if we got one down there at 4th Street? There's a light and a pole, I mean, there should be a pole
There you go.
and a light there. If there's
a Right. pole
down there, there's no problem.
I think we can give you several options. However you wanna look at it, we'll be happy to work with you any way we can to get one on 4th Street area at the intersection. And then also, I think there's a curve down there with a road that tees into it, right there in that section. So,
Y'all come up with a couple of plans and even give it to Mr. Deal.
Some numbers.
we can do that.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
That'll work, Mr. Jackson.
Glad you were here.
That'll work, all right.
Okay. Thank you all so much for your
All right,
time.
thank you.
Appreciate it, appreciate it.
All right, next item. Award bid for compact excavator. Mr. Martin.
Yes, sir.
I think Mr. Eagle will be doing
Where is he at? Yeah, his last rodeo. We
I'll
need to get him.
drill him at least one more time.
You really stuck it to you this time.
Yeah, we wanna get him one last time.
He's in training.
He's in training.
All right, what we have is based on the bids we received for the compact excavator. We received 5 bids. And out of those 5 bids, Flynn Equipment Company was the only one that had 100% of what we spec'd out. I went through each one, and I know that Bobcat and Low Country was both cheaper, but as far as 100% go of what we spec'd, that's the only one that met or exceeded the specs that we spec'd out.
So which one is that now?
That's the Flint Equipment Company. I just laid everything out on a Excel spreadsheet, so it'd be simple to look at, cause there's several different variations in numbers.
So the X means it
Admit,
moved the correct
Correct.
area, okay.
All right, say it one more time. Flint Equipment,
Flint Equipment Company is the only one. If you look at the bottom of the page, it shows the percentage of what it met as our specs allow.
And your recommendation is to go with that.
Correct, sir.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve Flint Construction, Mr. House?
Yep.
Motion to approve Flint Construction, Mr. House, have a second? Second. Second by Commissioner Harvey. Any discussion?
That's,
What's the amount of the bid?
45,600.
45,600.
What's the name brand of the equipment?
That's John Deere.
All right, any discussion?
What is the expected delivery date of this?
I checked with him and he's got one ready to ship. So within the next couple of weeks, we should have it on site.
All right, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Todd?
Yes.
Commissioner House?
Yes.
Commissioner Harvey?
Yes.
Commissioner Darden?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Yes, sir.
I hate that you didn't have Mr. Default come up here.
Last one, okay.
Yeah, we can give him a lot more.
Yeah, we still be talking about this tomorrow. All right, the next item on the agenda, the approval for revised completion of our solar array.
30 days is a lousy time. We're within just a few weeks to take of finishing the final connection with our battery system and all of the components with Georgia Power. We've been through a number of iterations on that, and hopefully we've got the one that we need now. And it's all scheduled for the middle of this month to do the completion on it. Having said that, Jesup says, well, we've got to change the completion date that's in the documents now. And they suggested that we just go ahead and arbitrarily stick a date out there of April 1st of next year. Just in case something does go wrong, where I don't have to come back up here again and ask your approval on it. The resolution that we need to sign for Jesup did not make it before this meeting, so at least we can have the discussion here so that if you have any questions, and then in December at that meeting, when we do have a formal resolution for you to sign, should just be a matter of signing on the dotted line.
Council have any questions for Mr. Schuman?
You said it's scheduled to be completed by the middle of the month, we hope.
I hope.
The battery,
And I wish Stanley still
yeah,
hopes it doesn't.
the battery
The thing you need
people,
to understand is we're doing a different type solar array than any other property in Georgia. We're putting battery backup. Our solar array is completed and ready to go. It's been working for about a month, maybe a month and a half. Month and a half, doing excellent.
The first
The
full month.
battery backups is the thing that people are not quite used to. We're experimenting. We're probably in a pilot in Georgia. I don't know of anybody that has it, but it's gonna save us a lot of money in the long run. And we're thinking that everything's gonna be really good. Everything's working great so far. But we don't have the battery hooked up, it's gonna save us more money. The figures look great already. Expense-wise, we're paying the bill and saving, or putting about about $1,500
but what,
away.
like for instance, for the first half of the month, where the power bill was $16,000, it went down to 12,000, and then that was on the half of a month, and last power bill we got was for the whole month. It was all the way down to 10,000, so that's about 6,000 from what we was paying at that time. So we're making headway there.
And the payment on the loan will be $5,800, so we're pretty good right now on the savings versus the expenditure.
So as far as their schedule goes, the guys are gonna be flying in on the 18th, and we're giving them a couple days of testing to get the batteries to quit putting out if Georgia Power loses a leg, so that it don't keep sending power back. That was the issue, so we're gonna let them test a few days and get that issue solved. They said it probably could be something as simple as just some programming in it, and then satisfy with what Georgia Power wants, and then we do the true test with the whole system, and then maybe we don't have no issues after that, so.
Believe me, if it's easy project, we probably wouldn't do it.
I was looking back there at Alan, his face turned red as a beet.
He don't like it. He don't like it.
We're saving that money.
We're not as good of friends as we used to be.
We're looking at that arbitrary date now as being in April, you said?
I'm sorry?
The date
It'll
change,
be April 1st.
April.
Yeah.
Which I think the Jesup lady did tell us that if everything is, like you said, the move the date, but if everything goes as we hoping that it's planned, and it'd take her about a month to actually do the paperwork, you can start making the payments, right after then without waiting to.
Actually, it's a good deal. We're not paying any
Right.
money. We're saving $10,000.
We can close the loan early, though, like Stanley's indicated. Any other questions?
Any other questions? And you bring the resolution back in the,
December.
that'd be great.
December meeting, yeah.
Okay. All right. I guess that means you're the next item on the
Yeah.
agenda too.
Wait,
eh?
wait.
No.
Don't you need a vote?
You'll actually do the formal vote when you
Yeah.
sign it.
Resolution.
We're just,
Till we see
we're
the
doing the
resolution.
discussion tonight, so all you gotta do is get it signed next month.
Resolution is generic, but you actually could sign
Well,
it
that's, the
as a meeting.
council's willing to, we
Sir?
can go ahead and vote on it.
First I heard of it is at this meeting, so I.
Yeah.
It's the
We'll
same
do it
one that
December.
you already
First I
done.
heard
Yeah.
of it at this meeting.
We do it December. Be fine December. Okay. All right. Mr. Chittum?
Okay, I'm sure all the commissioners have got a list of sidewalks in their district to hand to me tonight. That's a question.
I didn't know you were gonna be here.
I've got to have them because, there's less than 2 months now before the end of the year. This has got, and if you guys are not gonna provide the list, I've got to go out there and find the
We
work
can do it.
and estimate it.
I'll have something tomorrow.
Okay, I need it by the end of this week or else I won't have to do it myself.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay?
All right.
Let me ask you a question on that area. Now, you want a list of where you're gonna put new sidewalks or sidewalks that need repair?
Either.
Either.
Yeah.
We'll have approximately, let's see, there's 6 of you, and we got $200,000, so a little over $30,000 in each district. And I know Mayor's got a project that he wants done too, that we'll have to look for other resources on that one, but it'll be on the list, for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, I know every district has problems with sidewalks, trees growing and this kind of thing and that. But, I would like to make sure, and it's in my district, but we need a sidewalk from, Wayne Street to, Brunswick Street, on the side, in the ground or the land that the city owns, at the park.
Mhm.
I don't know, we'd like also to have not make it a straight line, if we could make it kind of a curving line, or meandering, is that?
Meandering.
Meandering, yeah.
You'll only get half as much if you meander it.
Well, I think we still ought to meander.
All right, if y'all get that stuff to Mr. Sheehan by the end of the week, and he can work through it, so he can, some may not have as much, and some may have more, so maybe we can work together between the 6 of you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Sheehan. Next item on the agenda, the bids for the new Dodge Charger, new Dodge Durango, and I think that has been pushed off to, Chief Nick Ellis.
Y'all have copies, but I got some copies here. You got some.
Thanks, sir.
We
that Mr. Ellis is bringing before us tonight is the ones that we discussed at our, retreat that the police department was needing when they came to us, and this is what he worked on.
We received 3 bids, 2 from Woody Folsom and 1 from Jens Chrysler Dodge, and it's the lowest bid. Each Dodge Charger came in at $25,671, with a total of 4 for $102,684 for the Dodge Chargers, and the Dodge Durango was $31,923, and we are asking for your approval tonight of a total of $134,607.
$607, right?
Yes.
Do you, Mr. Ellis, do you know what the budget was in that item?
$142,000.
Okay.
Do I have to be nice to him? Since he's a guest.
Yeah.
Yes,
you
the
be
chief
nice.
is out of town tonight, and so
Chief
he asked me to
out of town.
stand
He
in
did that
for
on purpose, too. He did, he wanted to. So, all right, any questions for, Mr. Ellis? All right, I entertain a motion for the approval for the vehicle from, Ginn Commercial.
Move to approve.
I have a motion by Commissioner Darden, a second by Commissioner Harris. Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner House,
Yes.
Commissioner Harvey,
Yes.
Commissioner Darden,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris,
Yes.
Commissioner Todd.
Yes.
And Ms. Jackson, if you'll note in the minutes and all that, Mr. Ellis was able to get this done in less than 5 minutes. We like him a lot better in the quiet and chief lanes. Thank you, Mr. Ellis.
Chief asked you need to buy anything else, it's pretty easy to know.
He ready to get out of here, leave him alone. All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. On with Mr. City Manager.
Yes, as you know, we have been providing, it's a partnership actually, with the convenience center. We've partnered with the county for the last few years. We've run into a problem this week, the truck, which is not a very good truck, I may add. I think we purchased that truck, that roll-off truck for $25,000. And we split the cost with the county. It is broken. And my idea is not to repair it. If we're gonna maintain that center, I think we need to look for a better truck. But I do have a backup plan. We now have a transfer center located in the county, just outside the city, in the county. It's run by Mr. DJ Jones. And I had a talk with him today, and his minimum cost is the same cost that we, which is $10. And I really think, as a government, we don't need to be in competition with private enterprise. So if he's gonna service that operation and service the community at the same price we do, I guess I'm asking for us to get out of that business.
Where's it located at?
Right on down the road, out by Mark, what's the Mark, trademark?
That new building that just about there.
Sir?
Is that the new building that just
That's
built?
what it is. And he's doing the same basic service that we do. He has several roll-off trucks, he has transfer trucks that he's transferring the materials to McIntosh or whatever landfill. And if he can,
What's his hours of operation?
better than ours, it's every day a week.
And Saturday?
You know, I didn't ask you about Saturday. It's open every day, and I'm thinking it's open on Saturday, but I'll have to.
Well, have you contacted the county about, the cost of splitting the truck? That was the deal when.
Did y'all talk about it last night?
Yes, sir, we discussed it in our meeting last night, and I think we came to the same conclusion that you did. As though you're trying to buy another truck, and we talked about, bidding it out or letting somebody else do it. And I think our chairman is supposed to get with you all since, Mr. Jeffries is out today. I don't know whether he contacted you there or not.
I think what they discussed is getting a private hauler to haul it. I don't think we can make it work doing that because the expense of hauling it's gonna be too much. And if he's right down the road, he's providing the same business, we don't need to be in competition with private enterprise anyway. I think we ought to try it.
You know, we talked about talking to Republic since we have a contract with them hauling some other stuff, but, you know, we're not gonna compete with private enterprise.
Yeah, I don't think they'll compete. They didn't last time when we tried to talk to them about doing it. And they didn't want to run the center.
Well, the only reason we were actually in the convenience center business was to allow the city residents to place to haul stuff without dumping it out in front of the houses and on the streets and all for us having to pick it up. And the convenience center was exactly what it is, it's convenience.
That's right.
But they still dumping it on the street.
Well, I know that, but that, I believe we could have a lot more if we didn't have that available.
Mattresses and couches and everything else on the street.
So you're saying that the county's told you that they're not going to go into business?
No, they haven't said that. They had to spend that out.
Once you get with Mr. Jeffords and all and see what the, I mean, I don't see us spending the money to do it ourselves.
Well,
because if we did it ourselves, then we would shut it down to nobody but just the city residents.
well, the thing about it, if we buy a truck, and I would estimate the cost of a decent truck to maintain that project for the next 5 years to be about $50,000 minimum. And that's, if we split that cost, it's gonna be 25 for us and 25 for the county. Now, we make a small amount of money with that center, probably $2,000 a year or whatever. So we pay that salary, so, you know, if he's right down the road, even though it is outside the city, it's only a mile. If you want us to maintain that.
Well, why don't you get with Mr. Jeffords first? And, don't you have other costs in there now that we put into that?
The only cost we have is in the dumpsters that we have, the roll-off dumpsters, and that's one. We got the others in the transaction with the path hauling company. And all we have is the, paying the labor for the person that's running it.
Well, maybe if we agree with Mr. Jones, we shut it down, that he would clean up everything we've got off that lot?
He talked to me about that.
Yeah. I'd almost be willing to do that, just to get that lot cleared off.
Well, I don't think he has equipment to clean up the bulk material. We probably would have to haul that, but that goes away. You're never gonna have that again if we could have that business. And if it don't work, you know, a simple solution to get back in. We buy a truck and partner with the county if the county wants to partner. Split the cost of the truck, and we're back in the business.
Any idea what percentage of city residents use it?
I can tell you exactly.
Okay.
It's around, I can tell you around, but I can go if you give me, an hour or so, I can get exactly, because I got everybody that's dumped in there since it opened, and their address on it. It's about 70% county to 30%.
Any other discussions from the council? All right, well, I think if you get with Mr. Jeffords, and if he's out of it, then you bring it back to us at the council in December, we'll determine to eliminate it. If that's, unless the council willing to do that tonight, it's up to the council.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna do it.
We'll bring that back in 2 weeks, whatever information you get.
Okay.
Well, I didn't know anything about it until the truck broke down.
The truck didn't break down, he had a wreck, didn't he?
Well, actually, it broke down out of wreck. Don't let me get into everything. But, I knew about it yesterday when the truck brakes failed and it had a wreck. And, I finished talking with DJ about an hour before the meeting.
Okay, we'll discuss it at the next meeting. Will that be,
It is closed, the center is closed, man.
so you don't have any way to haul this stuff?
Don't have anybody on it.
Okay. Ms. Jackson, will you make sure that's notified on, social media that the center is closed? Please, ma'am.
Yes.
Take it down the road to.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Deal? All right.
Day for Wayne, Thursday.
Yeah.
Everybody's in about it.
Yeah. Mr. Doherty?
Street light, this street right in front of my house is out.
There's the man. There's the man.
You wanna give them
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
information, Alan?
Yeah.
Was that?
You wanna give them that information on that?
They could go
Yeah,
online, you can go online and request through Georgia Power and they'll do it.
Well, he's here right now. What
Well,
do you know from
uh,
the street?
I can do two things. I can get your address and get it reported.
Okay.
But I can also kind of talk to you, and maybe this is something for a future meeting,
Yeah.
where I can show you online how everyone can go on, and it doesn't even have to be one that, say you don't know the address, you can find it on a Google map. So it's three blocks over, you can find it, you can click on it and send it, it'll send you an email saying it's been received, and then they'll send you an email when it's been repaired. So it's literally that simple.
And they get to
Uh,
it pretty fast.
And
We'll do both.
Yeah,
I'll give you
we-
the address and then we'll get the information.
we'll knock it out that way, and then what we'll do is come back maybe and do a little presentation for you. How about that?
That'd be great. I'll make sure Miss B is here that night. Miss Borkin, she needs to be at that meeting.
Okay.
Why? All right. Commissioner Harris? Commissioner Todd?
Just the one issue at, Hamilton Baptist Church tonight.
We're, looking at, that's on private property. Well, part of it's on private property. But we're looking at putting those, sidewalls in on the side. And what's breaking that up is our big truck. So we've been in there and fixed it. It's not near as bad as it was. It looks bad because it's got cracks in it. But I think it's tough enough to hold it, for a while, but we're looking at putting those sidewalls in if we do it. I don't wanna take all that concrete out, but we'll try to dress it up best we can.
Should that be part of my sidewalk project?
Now we're fixing it.
That's all.
All right, Commissioner House?
Sure.
Okay. Commissioner Harvey?
No, everything's running well in the 6th district.
Okay. Little information, Saturday night, the Boys and Girls Club are having a fundraiser Saturday night at the Farmers Market. I think, I have not heard anymore, but I still think there's a Veterans Day parade on Saturday at 10 o'clock. Hadn't heard on the radio or the TV or the,
They'll be on there tomorrow. They missed the last two Wednesdays, they're supposed to be there, and they ain't showing up in time, they're supposed to be there tomorrow.
Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Also Thursday, Day for Wayne out at the Clanton Farm. The meal starts at 12:30. The governor will be there. We'll be visiting Jesup Thursday. So any of y'all, the commissioners, that try if possible to get out there Thursday to see the governor, and also Congressman Buddy Carter, and still waiting to hear back from Senator David Perdue. Arrival too. And of course, Representative Stephen Meeks and Bill Werkheiser, and also Senator Blake Tiller will be there also. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably do that.
All right, hearing none, we'll be adjourned.